This is the third lecture in the molecular spectroscopy lecture series, and in this lecture I'll complete with the discussion of microspectroscopy of diatomic molecules. So far what we have seen is that the energy levels of diatomic molecules of rotational energy levels are represented by this formula, and the spacing between two consecutive lines is always 2b. At the same time, we had also seen that delta E, the energy for transition from one rotational state to another rotational state, can be written as 2bj dash, where j dash is the higher energy level, and at the same time the selection rules state these. Okay, fine. So now we'll start with the discussion of degeneracy for diatomic molecules, or the degeneracy of rotational states of the diatomic molecules. Then we'll move on to how we can find the J max, that means the state or the rotational energy level having the maximum population, why degeneracy is important, and then we'll move on to the application based questions of microwave spectroscopy of diatomic molecules. So let's start with degeneracy. Now, what is degeneracy? Now, degeneracy means those energy levels which have the same energy but different wave functions, or you can say the different type of levels which are present at the same energy level. So, and why is it important? Before that, we had seen that the angular momentum operator is given by this. Now let's try to visualize that for some values of J, how many different projections we can have for the rotation. That means for the same value of the rotational energy level, how many different types of rotations can be possible for a diatomic molecule. Let's say I am taking the case of J equals to 0. In that case, my P cap equals 0. That means the angular momentum is 0. So in that case, what I would essentially get is that my molecule is not rotating at all. That means there is no change in the direction of dipole moment. Okay, fine. But if my J is equals to 1, I get P cap to be under root 2 H cross. Now, how can you project this? Let's say you have a diatomic molecule and it is rotating along this axis in this way. Okay. So, and there are two more possible modes of rotational motion for this. Now, this is the axis plus 1 minus 1. In other terms, it means that this has angular momentum value of under root 2 H cross. This also has under root 2 H cross, and this also has under root 2 H cross. This will not be okay. This is minus 1, this is plus 1. Okay. So that means, okay, so the degeneracy for J equals to 0 was 1. There is only one possible state. Degeneracy for J equals to 1 is 3. There are 3 possible rotations for the same energy, same quantum number J equals to 1. Similarly, if you take the case of J equals to 2, you would get P to be under root 6 H cross. And how can we represent this rotation? Let's say you have this. Next possibility is this. Such that if you take the y-axis component of these rotations, these vectors, you would get 0, plus 1, plus 2, minus 1, minus 2. Such that all of the values of these vectors are under root 6 H cross. Okay, so that means for the sake rotational quantum number 2, there are 5 different types of rotations possible for a diatomic molecule. So that means the degeneracy for this comes to be 5. Now let's try to make a formula or devise a formula which relates the rotational quantum number with degeneracy. So that would come to be 2j plus 1, where j is a rotational quantum number. And this is the formula for the degeneracy of rotational states for diatomic molecules. Okay. But why is degeneracy important? If you remember, in the last lecture, I had drawn a rotational spectra which looked something like this. And I told this is for 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7. You see, 3 to 4 has the highest or the maximum intensity. And that would mean that maximum population or the maximum number of molecules are at j equals to 3. That is why only they are able to do so many transitions. But the formula for finding the population of any energy level that we get from Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution is Nj by N0 is equals to e to the power minus delta E by kT. Now delta E, that means the difference between the jth level and 0th level. Now zeroth energy, the energy of the 0th rotational level is 0. So I can also write this as e to the power minus b j into j plus 1 by kT. This essentially should have been this b j into j plus 1 minus b 0 into 0 plus 1. This part is gone. So that's why I have only written this part. Now if you plot Nj by N0, which is e to the power minus bj plus 1 by kT with respect to j, you would see it to be an exponentially decreasing plot, because there is only one component in the formula and that has an exponentially decreasing nature. So you should see a plot like this. Now this plot would mean that lower the value of j, more is the population. So that means at j equals to 0, the population should be maximum. For that, you should see that this peak should be the most intense. But that is not the case. And that is why we have to use degeneracy while finding the population of any energy level, which you'll see now. Okay, so what do we have? The traditional formula for Boltzmann population gives me this. So this is without considering degeneracy. But if I consider degeneracy, this would be Gj by G0. We know G0 is 1, e to the power minus Bj j plus 1 by kT, or 2j plus 1 e to the power minus Bj j plus 1 by kT. So this is the formula with degeneracy. Okay. So now if I want to find the plot for this, that means now let's consider this gives me the relative population of any energy level. So what I would be getting is this is your j, this is your 2j plus 1 e to the power minus j into j plus 1 by kT, and the plot looks something like this. Okay. Now why is the plot now changed? That is because now you have two components depending on j in the equation. There is a 2j plus 1 and there is an exponential part. For lower values of j, 2j plus 1 dominates. And you see an increasing plot. For higher value of j, the exponential part dominates and you see a decreasing plot. And hence you find a peak which is your J max. That means that rotational energy level which has the maximum population. So that is why you saw the plot to look something like this. So it has a rotational energy level greater than 0 which has a maximum population at temperature T. Okay. So that is why degeneracy is important here. One more thing, for any value of j, let's say j equals to a, the possible number of, okay, so let's say this is minus a to plus a. For any value of rotational quantum number, the number of, or you can say the possible values of the rotations which are available at that rotational quantum number is minus a2 plus a. It is just like L, we have the value of L and ml is equals to minus L2 plus L. It is just the same. Okay, fine. So that is why we had seen in the case in the last few minutes, we had seen that for j equals to 2, the possible energy levels we got supposed to be minus 2, minus 1, 0, plus 1 and plus 2. If you can remember, it looked something like this. So these are these values, 0, plus 1, plus 2, minus 1, minus 2. The projections of the rotation along the axis of rotation. Okay. Now let's find J max. We have found that there is one energy level which has a maximum population, and how can we find J max? Questions have come from J max. Now any maxima can be found by doing the first derivative. So we'll take the derivative of the population with respect to j. So that means this would mean d by dj 2j plus 1 e to the power minus bjj plus 1 by kt. Let's solve this. We would get, now this has to be equals to 0 for maxima. Okay. So I have 0 equals to this e to the power, let's say, I'm not writing it again, into minus b 2j plus 1 by kt. How did I get this? J into j plus 1 is what? J square plus j, and you do the derivative of this, you get 2j plus 1. Plus you have e to the power minus the thing, this entire part, and you do the derivative of 2j plus 1. Now you get a 2. Now you can take this exponential part common from both. So let's say you have e to the power minus this, and you get 2j plus 1 minus b 2j plus 1 by kt plus 2. Now this exponential part cannot be equals to 0, because if that is 0, my j would be having the value of infinity. So what you get is 2 minus 2j plus 1 square b by kt. This is equals to 0. So if I am removing 0, taking this on the other side, I should get this. That would mean 2 kt by b under root is equals to 2j plus 1, or let's say this is my j max. J max is equals to under root 2 kt by b minus 1, this whole thing divided by 2, or I can write this to be half and 4 here, or I get 2 here. So that means what I get is under root kt by 2b minus half. Now one thing which you must remember is that this b is in joules. I have not changed it to hertz or centimeter inverse. So when you do the question, if it is given in centimeter inverse, you have to make the necessary changes in the formula to get the correct answer. So this is the formula for J max, and we will see the question that we have from here. Okay, so let's start with the question. The first question we have is from GATE 2000. And the question says the population n distribution over states n of a diatomic molecule corresponds to, and you have been given a plot like this, and you have been asked which energy levels these correspond to: translation, vibration, rotation, or electronic. Now we know this is the case of rotation, which is option number C. Okay, so the next question we have is from GATE 2004. And the question says the population of jth rotational energy level is given by, expression is given, and the J value of the rotational level with maximum population, that is, we have to find the J max. And if you look at option number B, that is essentially this part, 2 kt minus 1 divided by 2. So that means the correct answer for this would be option number B. Very straightforward questions have come. Okay, so the next question we have is from TIFR 2018. And the question says the rotational constant for a diatomic molecule is 1.9225 centimeter inverse. In general, at temperature equals to 600 Kelvin for rotational state with maximum population and the position of the maximum intensity of the pure absorption spectrum, which of the following holds true? So that means you have to find J max and you have to find the relation between the position and intensity. That means you have to directly incorporate this here. So, okay, now this is given in centimeter inverse. This formula is in joules. So that means you have to divide B by HC. You have to divide this B by HC. So that means my formula will have an HC in the numerator. So that should give me J max equals to KTHC by 2B minus half. When you put this formula here, you would find J max to be 10. So that means it has to be either option B or option D. Now the option B says I max, so the intensity of the maximum, the intensity with the maximum state is near transition originating from J equals to 7. And the second says the I max position cannot be determined from this information alone, which is actually true. You cannot determine the intensity of the maximum or I max, or which position of the maximum intensity in the pure rotational spectra by this information alone. You need other parameters also. Okay, so now let us take a look at the different properties or the applications for microwave spectroscopy for diatomic molecules. So what are the properties? Let's start with bond length. From the spectra you can find the rotational constant. Now rotational constant is equals to h square by 8 pi square I. Now this I is equals to what? Mu r square. Therefore r is equals to under root I by mu. This is your bond length of the molecule. And if I'm not wrong, there should be one question for this formula. Okay. The question says, this is from June 2014. And the question states, the CO bond length is 120 picometer. So R is given as 120 picometer. The moment of inertia of CO2 would be close to, and you are given mass of carbon to be 1.2 Yeah, 1.9 into 10 power minus 27 kg, and O to be 2.5 into 10 power minus 27 kg. Now you know I is equals to mu r square. So for that you first need to find mu, which is m1 m2 by m1 plus m2. So once you find this, you'll be able to use that value here and you can find the moment of inertia. Okay. A similar question came in December 2013, which states the atomic masses of fluorine and hydrogen are. Hydrogen is given as 1, fluorine is given as 19. Yeah. And they have also said 1 AMU is equals to 1.67 into 10 power minus 27 kg. You are also given the bond length of HF bond to be 2.0 angstrom, and you have to find the moment of inertia. That means again the same question. First find reduced mass using this formula. Now put it here, you will get the moment of inertia. You can find it using calculator. Okay. Now what other property can you find using this? The first is mass of isotopic substitution. Let's say in your sample, now you have made an isotopic substitution, or you have changed one of the elements by its isotopes. How can you determine what is the mass of that? How can you identify that? Now we know that rotational constant is inversely proportional to moment of inertia, and moment of inertia is directly proportional to reduced mass. So that means this is, okay, this should have been 1 by I. So it is inversely proportional to reduced mass. Now when you substitute an element with its higher isotope, what happens to this? Let's say I am taking the case of HCl. Mu is equals to 1 into 35.5 by 36.5. But when you substitute it with deuterium, you get 2 into 35.5 by 37.5. The mu increases. Okay, mu dash is greater than mu. That means the isotopic substituted reduced mass is higher. So if that is true, you would see that B dash is less than or smaller than B. B dash is the rotational constant for isotopically substituted sample. So in that case, you can make a formula that B by B dash will be equals to I dash by I. Let's say my bond length R is constant. So I would get B by B dash is equals to mu dash by mu. Simply putting mu dash R square and mu R square cancelled. Now in terms of spectra, how would it look like? So let's take a look at the energy levels first. So that means my the values of the energy levels are now decreasing. Let's say this was the initial case. This is my 0, this is my 2, this is my 6, this is my 12B. So almost same. Okay. 2B, 6B, 12B. Now for the isotopic substituted, the value of B will decrease. So that means I will find the energy level to be somewhere here, and in this case here, and in this case here. It is 2B dashed, 6B dashed, 12B dashed. You can see in terms of energies, the value has decreased, but it is still 2B dash, 6B dash, 12B dash, and in this case was 12B, 6B, 2B. The 0 doesn't make any change. So now the spacing has decreased. I mean the energy levels have come down, the spacing will also decrease. So in that sense, if suppose you had got the peaks like say 2B, 4B, 6B, 8b. Now it would look like it is here like this. This is 2b dashed, 4b dashed, 6b dashed, 8b dashed, and so on. The energies, the spacings are now decreasing. Okay. So this is using this formula, you can find the mass of the isotopically substituted element. Now, what other property can you find? You can find the classical frequency of rotation. And how do you do that? We know that in case of classical explanation of rotations, energy is equals to half I omega square, and in quantum it is J into J plus 1 H cross square. No, not this. It is actually BJJ plus 1. So I can write omega is what? 2 pi mu whole square is equals to BJJ plus 1 by 2 here, I here. Or I can write mu to be under root 2BJJ plus 1 by 4 pi square I. Now I am putting the value of B here, so I would get under root 2 H square 8 pi square I J into J plus 1 by 4 pi square I. Now if I multiply 2 in denominator and numerator, this becomes 4, this becomes 8. So what do you have? You have H by 8 pi square I into H by 8 pi square I. So that means, now what was H by 8 pi square I? It was rotational constant in Hertz. So what do you get? You get equals to 2B Hertz under root J into J plus 1. So this is your classical rotational frequency in terms of Hertz. Now from rotational frequency you can get another quantity which is known as rotational period. That means the time of one rotation, one complete rotation, and that is simply 1 by mu. That's all. Mind it, this mu you have to calculate in Hertz only. Okay. Now we'll take a look at the questions that have come from this part of the microwave spectrum. There are few questions. The first one we have is from GATE 2002. Okay. And the question says the spacing between the rotational lines of HF is 40 centimeter. Now we know spacing is 2b, so that is 40 centimeter inverse. The corresponding spacing between the rotational lines in DF. Now if you remember, I said B by B dash is that is written there is equals to mu dash by mu. If I say it is 2b, that means I am getting the spacing. Now mu dash is what? For DF it is 2 into 19 by 21. Mu is what? Mu is 1 into 19 by 20. Now 21 and 20 are very close enough, we can cancel that. 19 get cancelled, I get 2 here. So I would get 2b by 2b dash is equals to 2, or 2b dash is equals to 40 by 2, which is 20, which is given in my option number A. Okay. The next question we have from this part is from NET December 2016. Okay. And the question says The rotational constant and the fundamental vibration frequency of HBr are. So you have given been rotational constant and fundamental vibrational frequency. That means mu is equals to where is it? Yeah, 2000 centimeter inverse. And you have been asked to find the corresponding values for dBr. Now we saw in case of substitution of hydrogen by deuterium, it simply gets divided by 2. So we can directly do this for B. B dash will be 5. But for mu, now formula for frequency, vibrational frequency is 1 by 2 pi k by mu. Now if I substitute this by mu dash, what will happen? Now mu dash is equals to 2 into mu. You get from here. This was equals to 2, so mu dash equals to 2 into mu. So that means I can write 2 into mu. So that means I am getting 2000 by under root 2. If I take under root 2 apart, I get 1 by 2 pi under root k by mu, which was the initial case, this one. So that means this comes out to be 1410 centimeter inverse, and this is given in option number D. Okay, question, I have discussed this question, and the last question for this part is from, okay, that I have also discussed. Yeah, so that's all the questions we have for diatomic molecules, rotational spectra of diatomic molecules. This part of microspectroscopy is now complete. In the next lecture in this series, I'll discuss the non-rigid rotor approximation for diatomic molecules. That is also a very important part, and a good number of questions have come from there also in the NET GATE and TIFL, which we'll discuss in the next lecture.